Hello traders, hope you're doing well. Welcome to my video on the MACD and Ichimoku EA that I have coded for the MT4 trading platform. The EA is free to download and you can get it using the link in the description below. In this video, I'm just going to run through various EA settings, just explain how you can set it up and use it on your MT4 trading platform, which is what I have here. Okay, as you can see, I've just run a back test in the strategy tester there using the EA, which we've selected there. So you've got the MACD and Ichimoku EA under the Expert Advisor section there. Symbol, got the euro dollar. For the period, I'm just using the 1 hour chart. I prefer to trade the higher chart time frames, so 1 hour, 4 hour, daily, simply because they contain more price action, and therefore I find signals tend to be more reliable. And that applies not just to automated trading, but manual trading as well. Okay, so for the spread, we can use the current spread. Just be cautious if you are testing on the weekend, the current market spread will be higher than usual. So you might just want to manually adjust that value there. Okay, for the use date, we can just choose the period we want to test over. So this is just the past 5 or 6 months I've just selected here. The model, so test the model, you can use open prices only for testing this EA. That's because I've coded it to use open prices for calculating the indicators. However, you will want to switch to every tick to fine tune settings. If you do find some good results with open prices only, always verify it with every tick. That's because the stop loss, take profit, trailing stop, break even, and other things can be impacted by the intra-bar prices, and open prices only, does exactly what it says. It only accounts for the open prices. Okay, it's just a lot faster to do an initial open prices only test just to get, try and get a rough idea of what sort of settings you want to look at, and then you can just fine tune with every tick. Okay, so if we go to the expert properties, I'm just going to run through the different properties of the EA and what you can change, so you can adjust it depending on your preferred trading style. So got the expert name here, MACD and Ichimoku EA. That's basically the comment that will be displayed on your trades. So pop-up alerts, if you have this set to true, when there's a signal, there'll be a pop-up box on your platform that will say, for example, buy signal on the euro dollar 1 hour chart, or sell signal on the pound dollar 4 hour chart. And this is handy because you can run multiple charts at the same time and multiple time frames, different trading instruments, and simultaneously track as many charts as you wish. For example, you could have 50 charts open and EA running and sending you signals on them all. Just saves you having to manually scour through them. You can spot some opportunities that you may otherwise have missed. Email alerts, basically it's the same. It'll just send you the alert via email. Okay, there are instructions included which explain how to set up the email and the SMS alerts there. And use trading, if you set use trading to true, this will allow the EA not just to send you a signal if you have signal set to true, but it will also allow the EA to place the trade for you. Okay, this is handy if you're not going to be around to place the trade. And you can always just come back and adjust the stop loss and the take profit after. For example, you could have use trading set to true, email alert set to true. If you're out and about, perhaps you're on the sofa, you're just chilling, doing what you're doing, and then you receive an alert by email. There's been a buy signal on the euro dollar 1 hour chart. You've got use trading set to true, so the trade's also been placed, and then you can quickly fire up the platform, whether that's on your phone, your computer, your laptop, and double check the trade and perhaps adjust the stop loss and take profit if need be. Okay. Days filter, self-explanatory. This is days of the week that EA can trade. Hours filter are the same. Okay, so you can trade between, if you want to trade a particular session, perhaps if you're trading the euro dollar, you want to trade only the hours when the New York and the London session overlap. If you're trend trading and you need that volatility to capture some big moves, breakouts. On the other hand, if you want to trade during the Asian session when the euro dollar is perhaps not as volatile, because you're perhaps using a scalping strategy, you can adjust the hours accordingly. As I'm trading long term, I tend not to really fine tune the hours that way. If there's a signal based on my setup, I'm going to take it regardless of the time of day. Magic number, so this is the order ID that is sent along with the trade. So it's set to 1 for buy, 2 for sell. So it's just handy if you're running other EAs on the same platform and you don't want them to clash with each other. You can just ensure they have different order IDs. Maximum spread, maximum slippage. The EA will not send signals or place trades if the spread and slippage are above these values, which are in pips. This is to avoid having trades or signals during unfavorable market conditions. Money management, so open orders limit set to 1 by default. This will allow a maximum of 1 open buy and or sell trade at any time. Lots, this is the lot size. Keep in mind the EA will only use this lots figure if you have use risk set to false. If you have use risk here set to true, the EA will calculate the position size depending on the risk percent here that you have set in the risk percent field. Okay. Stop loss and take profit, self-explanatory. So stop loss and take profit sent along with the order. Personally, I'm not a fan of fixed stop loss and take profit levels. If I'm not around, I'm quite happy just to use, say on the 1 hour chart, just have an initial 50 stop loss and then take profit. I usually wouldn't have one. Reason being, if we just look at the chart here, for example, you see this trade. I'll just zoom in there. See the sell trade we had here. Okay, stop loss, if it was 50 pips, would have been up and around here somewhere, which is fine for an initial stop loss. However, I would have preferred my stop loss to be above a recent high, so at least half, around 20 pips here. But you know, if you're not there to place the trade, you can always, as I said, adjust the stop loss after. And the take profit, I'm always usually not going to use a fixed level at all for that. If we had 100 pip take profit, we would exit around here somewhere, which is great. At the time, it made it like a good trade for 100 pips with a relatively tight stop loss. However, you can see this move continues. In fact, it goes, you know, let's have a look, you know, around 400 pips profit potential in that move. If we exited for 100 around here, we would have been out too early. Instead, we can use a break even and trailing stop. I'd move the stop loss once it starts to fall. I'd move the stop loss from up here and just move it above the high here. As price continues to drop, I just move the stop loss above the high, 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 and just trail the price down as far as we can until we start to see these higher lows here and the price turns around and we'd be taken out, but we would have caught the majority of the move. You can, of course, close part of the position on the way down if you want to bank some pips. Or if you do exit too prematurely, you can always re-enter again as the EA did here, but ideally you want to get one big move from the beginning. Well, that's what I would prefer to do, each to their own. So stop loss and take profit, that's that. Close opposite signal, if you set this to true, the EA will close buy trade if there's a sell signal, and the EA will close the sell trade if there's a buy signal. Okay. Break even, if you set the break even to true, the EA will move the stop loss to break even point once this value is reached in pips. So if you set it to 25, once the trade's 25 pips in your favor, the stop loss will be moved to break even. Use trail, if you set use trail to true, okay, the EA will trail the stop loss every 25 pips, that distance from the current price. Okay, this is just good if you can have a break even, move your stop loss to break even and then trail it as it continues, or you could just have a break even. It is up to you, depending on your money management. Close percent, you can close a percentage of the trade. For example, you might want to close 25% once the break even point is reached and just leave the remaining open. If you have trailing stop set to true and close percent 25, every time the trailing gap's reached, it will close 25% of the position that's open until minimum lot close. The EA will not close any part of the position if you only have this many lots left. So for example, if you're trading user set to false and you're trading one lot and you have minimum lot close 0.5, once you only have half the position left, 0.5 lots, the EA will stop closing trades, just so you can allow the rest to run. Okay, so this is the nitty gritty of the EA as the trading strategy. So you've got the MACD. Okay, there's two different elements. You've got the MACD 0 line and the MACD trend. You can set both to true or either. Okay, depending on your strategy. You've got the fast, slow, and SMA elements of the MACD. You can adjust accordingly there. If we just have a look here, so you've got the MACD here. So the MACD 0 line, basically the middle of the MACD there. Okay, if you have that set to true, a buy signal is when the histogram is above the 0 line. A sell signal is when the histogram is below the 0 line. And for the MACD trend, you need the histogram. Okay, so these bars above the red line for a buy or below the red line for a sell. And the Ichimoku, I'm not going to run through each of the individual settings here. I've got plenty of videos and articles regarding the Ichimoku indicator that you can check out just to learn more about the different elements. But the main aspects you can customize there to true or false, depending on your preferred trading strategy, along with the periods there. Okay, so that's all the settings. As I said, you can use it for semi-automated trading or fully automated, so it can send you signals, can place trades, just depending on how you want to use it. It's going to be a good way to find trends and entry points, time your entry on any trading instrument. So you can use on forex, commodities, stocks, indices, cryptos, etc. If we go in the testing tab here, so you can choose if you want to trade long, short, or long and short. Optimization, right, and we're just going to run a quick optimization now just so I can show you how you can optimize the EA in the MT4 strategy tester and the pros and cons of doing so. Optimization basically is you select the settings that you want to test to see what different results they would produce. Okay, so if we just reset it, we need to have use trading set to true to optimize. Not going to optimize days, not going to optimize hours. So let's start with the stop loss. So you just check this box here, which means you want to optimize this setting, and you just put the start value you want to optimize, the increments you want to go in, and when you want to stop. So we'll optimize a stop loss of 25. We'll go up in 25 and we'll stop at 50. Take profit, we'll optimize starting from 0, so no take profit, and we'll go up in 100 steps and stop at 500. So that will optimize a take profit of 0, 100, 200, 300, 400, and stop at 500. Close opposite signal, we can optimize that. True or false, break even, true or false, break even point. We'll start at 25, go up in 25, stop at 50. Trailing stop, we'll do true or false, and for the trailing gap, we'll go 25, go up in 25, and again, stop at 50. For the close percent, let's say you can close 0%, 25%, up to 75%. And for the minimum lot, we're going to trade one standard lot in the lots field there. So minimum lot to close, let's just do 0.25, 0.25, and stop at 1, which wouldn't close any. And we'll optimize the indicator. So we'll just check MACD 0, MACD trend to optimize that. We'll optimize the MACD values as well. Okay. Just do a few different variations there. And we'll also optimize all the elements of the Ichimoku. Right. Okay, so we've chosen the settings we want to optimize. Then what we need to do is you can go in this optimization. If you want to filter results by any of these, you can just check the box. You can adjust the value there if need be. If you want to filter, results by a maximal drawdown of 20, you can do that. I don't filter results just because I want to see what works and what doesn't, but you can if you wish. Under the testing tabs again, you've got this genetic algorithm setting. If you have this checked, what the MT4 strategy tester will do is it will throw away any results and just skip them if it thinks it won't produce good results. If you uncheck it, it will do every single possible combination, which can take an age depending on how many settings you're optimizing and the speed of your machine. Generally speaking, from my experience, genetic algorithm being checked does not have an adverse impact on the results that you get, and is also a lot quicker, so I always leave that checked. And you can choose if you want to optimize by a specific parameter, so balance, profit factor, drawdown. Yeah, I just leave it on balance and the initial deposit you're going to test with. Click OK, click the optimization box, got the last 5 to 6 months, 1 hour charts, and we just click start. And now what this will do, it will run through every single combination of the settings that we've selected and show us what the different results would be. As you can see under the optimization results tab, as that's running through the various combinations. And here you can see what settings were used and what the results were. So you've got the results in profit, number of trades, profit factor, expected payoff, and the drawdown in monetary or percentage value. Okay, so that's done already. We just sort by profit. We can see the top performing setting was here. You double click it, okay, what that will do is it will load those particular settings into the EA inputs, okay? And from then you can save if you want to save that set file to perhaps load on your chart at a later date, or if you want to backtest again, if you want to try it on different instruments. Okay, and then you can just load settings using the load button there. Okay, so we put those, double clicked, those optimization settings that gave us those results have been put in the EA. So we'll just uncheck the optimization, which is done automatically when you double click on the optimization results and just hit start. And this will do an individual back test. And you can see there a nice upwards graph based on our optimization results. Now that looks good in theory, and you may be thinking, fantastic, you've got a great strategy there. Let's run it. However, we've just done what's known as over optimization, or curve fitting if you prefer. Basically means you've done as many different combinations of settings as possible to see what will produce good results, which is throwing what at the wall and hoping some of it sticks. There is no real logic behind it. It's just you've fitted to match the historical data that you're using, okay? Granted, there will be times when you will find a good combination of settings, but that's just more down to pure luck, in my opinion. But it can still give you a general idea if there's a setting like that, pops up more often than not. Okay, well, perhaps that is a setting that's good to work with, but more often than not, it's curve fitted or over optimized, with the exception of perhaps if you're using the same settings on multiple currency pairs over many years of historical data, tick data ideally, accounted for commissions and slippage and spreads and things like that. But anyway, to prove the point, if we just go back, so we optimized for the past, was it 6 or so months, so 6 months. Let's go back and add on a year, okay? Then run the exact same settings that gave us this graph, but we'll go back a year and see what graph we get then. And that's what we get. And we can probably find out exactly where we started our optimization, probably around here. To the day, okay? That is literally to the day when we started the optimization, because that's when the graph went up, because that's when we curve fitted the settings to match the data. You can see before, they weren't good settings. So what some people may do is, well, let me just click optimize and I'll optimize back, and I'll find good settings for a longer time. And you can go back another year, you can go back another 2 years, you can go back another 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. You're just going to end up over optimizing to fit the data that you're using, okay? Which doesn't necessarily mean you've got a good strategy moving forward. There needs to be some logic behind it, okay? So we'll just let this optimization run and we'll see what kind of results we get. You can see already we've got some good results coming in here. Decent profit factor, good return, low drawdown. Okay, again, it's doing all different various combinations based on the settings that we selected. But again, it's just a lot of randomness. Personally, if you do want to use the strategy tester to optimize, just make sure you're checking what the settings are that are being used and that there's some logic behind them. For example, that the MACD, is crossing, the Ichimoku cloud is in agreement, sensible money management, so on and so forth. Optimization results. So let's again sort by profit. Go right to the top. Okay, we can see we've got a nice setting here. So what do? Double click it. It loads the settings in here for us. And we just run the individual test. And it's not bad. It's not the best, but it's not bad. But what have we done? We've over optimized, because if we go back, let's go back 3 years. Okay, let's go back 3 years and then run it again, see what happens. Okay, it's not terrible, but again, you can see where we started to run the optimization. Yeah, probably around here somewhere. Okay, that's when the graph really started to go up. I mean, it's not bad. There is some potential with the optimization to perhaps get a rough idea of the sort of settings, that might work, especially if you see settings pop up a lot. Okay, but then you really need to, in my opinion, just try and put a bit of effort into trading. If you just want to get the signal and then confirm it with your own market analysis. For example, had you got this signal here, you could have just easily drawn your level of support and seen, okay, there's been a signal up here. I'm going to wait for a breakout, and that's the breakout there. You know, and then you had this wedge pattern here, markets making these lower highs. You know, you could have had lots of confirmation. You've got a 3 inside down candlestick pattern there as well, an engulfing bar. So there was lots of signs that the market was going to drop. Anyway, it just, you know, you could have gave it your extra confirmation as well, because you might see things that automated system may not see, especially when it comes to money management. Okay, because you can have the best entry in the world, but if you've got poor money management, it doesn't really matter. As I said, with the money management, for a sell trade, I want to put the stop loss above a recent high. For a buy trade, I'll put the stop loss below a recent low. And ideally, trail price as the market moves in our favor. For example, if we just take it back here, back. Okay, so in this uptrend here, we could have, let's just have a look. Okay, so we have the MACD cross, MACD above the signal line. Okay, have a level there, triple top formation almost. Market's making these higher lows here. You got a nice wedge pattern, a breakout there to the upside. In fact, we've got quite a lot of resistance in here as well. Nice consolidation, breakout. That resistance then comes support. Ichimoku agrees, and we have a nice continuation upwards. We could have easily taken this trade here. Would have been a solid entry. Okay, could have had our alerts from the Ichimoku and or the MACD. Stop loss, again, below the low here, 25 pips, similar to the first example. You know, in this instance, had you had the 50 pips again, it just would have been too wide. It can be good for a rough stop, but as soon as you get a chance to check the trade manually, you could have just adjusted it to the recent low. And again, if we had that 100 pip take profit, we would have been out around here, which is a good trade, but you know, there was over 200 pips in this move, which is why I wouldn't have used a take profit. Instead, as price got up here, I would have moved the stop loss to at least break even. And then as price continued, I just put the stop loss from there to below the lows, below the low, below the low, below the low, below the low, and just try to trail the move as much as possible. Okay, hopefully you found something useful in this video. As I said, help yourself to the EA using the link below. You'll also find plenty of other free expert advisors that I have developed, which you can use, including one that has the majority of the MT4 indicators, along with price action analysis, money management, so on and so forth. Thanks for watching, take care, and I'll catch you on the next one.